What's up everyone, Ryan here with Deutsche Beverage. Today we're going to be going through some basic setup and adjustment tips for your roller mill. Getting a good crush is critical for maximizing conversion in your mash tun and then ensuring an efficient extraction throughout the lauter tun. Too coarse of a crush and you may not get the conversion you're looking for in the mash tun. Too fine and you may find yourself with cloudy work, or worse, a stuck transfer from your mash or lauter tun over to your kettle. Keep in mind that setting up your mill may vary from grain type to grain type, from suppliers or different malt houses, as well as crop changes year over year. All right, so before we make any adjustments on the mill, it's important that we make sure the equipment is powered off. So make sure your disconnect's in the off position. If your facility has a lockout tagout program, now would be the time to follow that. Make sure this piece of equipment doesn't start up while you're working on it. All right, so after you have your equipment powered down, you can go ahead and remove this magnet drawer. There's a thumb screw on this side. This is a magnet here to catch any foreign material before it goes into the rolls. After you've removed the magnet drawer, this is the same place where you can check and measure your roll gap. I recommend for the first time starting a little bit more open and then gradually reducing the gap to get the desired crush you're looking for. As I mentioned before, there could be variances from system to system, different grain types, as well as year-over-year crop changes. That's why I recommend using a set of feeler gauges. This is going to ensure you get the most accurate reading for your roll gap. In a pinch, you could use a credit card or two, but this is certainly going to give you more accurate information. So I take my feeler gauges, stick them in between the rolls here, and it should go back and forth with minimal resistance once you get to your desired gap. So here is the adjustment dial, which is going to allow you to increase or decrease the distance between the rolls for a finer or coarser crush. First thing you want to do is loosen up this locking nut here in order to move this bar to make adjustments. In order to bring the rolls closer together, so to get a finer crush, you'll want to go clockwise with the dial. If you want to get a more coarse grind, you're separating the rollers, you actually want to go counterclockwise. And it's important to note, each graduation is 0.25 millimeters. Keep in mind as you're making adjustments, pay attention to how many revolutions you are turning the dial. For instance, if you are on 0 and you go a full revolution back to 0, that is not the same setting. It's very much tighter because I went a full revolution in the clockwise direction. So once you've set your rollers to the desired gap, go ahead and lock down this nut to make sure that your roll setting doesn't change as you're feeding grain through the mill. After you've got your roll set to the desired position, you'll want to set your feed gate, your feed slide gate here. This slides up and down on the threaded rod here, tightens down with a thumb screw, and that's going to control the rate of the grain flow through the mill. Be sure you don't open your feed slide gate too wide so that you're letting too much grain through. You could overload the mill. So the RAD 300 mill comes standard with 5 horsepower motor. If you need to have an explosion-proof motor for your county that you're in, we can also provide that. One cool feature about this mill is the built-in sampling port right here. So as you're making adjustments to your crush, you can simply open up this drawer, catch it in a bucket here for a visual check or a sieve analysis. We're here in our showroom here in Charlotte. We don't have too much maintenance we keep up with on it. Besides wiping it down, keeping it clean, it does generate some dust, but it's easily maintained. Some other things to keep an eye out for a periodic inspection. There's a chain behind this guard. You want to check the tension, make sure it's lubricated properly. You've got grease zerks here, so those will be lubricating the bearings. And then on the opposite side, you've got the drive belt underneath this cover. You want to make sure you check the tension on that for minimal deflection in the belt. So these are the grease fittings for the bearings within the machine. What you want to do is hook up your grease gun to this grease zerk and pump in some lubricant until you see the excess coming out. Hopefully you found this video to be informative. If you still have questions, feel free to reach out to your Deutsche account manager or project manager. We'd be happy to answer any other questions you may have. Thanks.
We'll probably close it a little bit more because you can see like there's still some whole kernels in there. So we'll close that gap a little more. Yeah, so again, we're looking to crack all the hulls and then access the starch, but we're not trying to create a powder and a dust, and we're not trying to get full hulls through still. So we still do have very few, but we might close it another half a graduation and call it good.
So we're looking for like 100% cracked grains, but no pulverization, right? Like you don't want.
Correct. Yeah.
Like you don't want dust.
Yeah. So I think we should still close it up a little bit.
What do we think? That's good.
Yeah.
Perfecto.